Hello, everyone. We'll be introducing you to the world of research and use of AI. Hopefully, you'll see some examples of how we are revolutionizing market research with AI. As the gentleman from PepsiCo was saying, we try to be an agency that innovates. We're trying to bring in the complex worlds of AI and market research together. We're based in UK. We work with many brands and agencies and consulting firms as well. Passing on to you.
Yeah, this is Iram. I am working at Unilever as responsible for CMI manager and specifically for kids brands and category projects. And just a small recap for what Unilever ice cream is if you don't know. We are a global market leader, and you may also know us from our power brands such as Magnum, Ben & Jerry, or Cornetto, or this heart logo, which has a different names everywhere, but we call it Walls.
Perfect. Conscious of being the last thing probably between you and the drinks and end of the day, I'll try to really wrap it up quickly. So starting off with AI and how it got into our lives, I think this is quite an interesting statistic and data. It took only 2 months for ChatGPT to reach 100 million users, and compare that to WhatsApp, which took almost 3 years. This space is moving so fast, and it will certainly come and it will accelerate in market research space as well. So whether it's an agency or client partner, there are a lot of offerings are in place. This is data from 2024, and it's all over the place with all the brands implementing it as chatbots, like search capabilities, introducing it into their product offerings. It's moving so fast. When we look into the context of market research and insights and innovation, obviously, if you're familiar with the phase approach and how innovation is done, it starts with, understanding your consumers, empathizing with them, defining your audience, ideating, and then prototyping and testing it. What we see is when it first started, it was used for more like low-cost work, just writing, like copywriting some of your text. And then it moved with GPT-4 into even more creative stuff, including visuals and advertising. And now what we're seeing is it's moving quickly into high-cost knowledge work, which means even consultancy, strategic work coming from AI. So, and then we ask ourselves, like, can this all be done in an autopilot way with the help of AI? So just let's look into some few examples. You can ask your AI to identify some trends. Obviously, if you look at backdated data in terms of the data sets that you use to train, it can give you really nice insights and trends that are coming up with your audiences. You can create stimuli, right? Visuals, pack shots, advertising using AI. You can actually write personas. If you have the right data sets, it can give you exactly what sort of bullseye target that you are talking to. You can ask it to create consumer journeys, starting from throughout the day, morning till night, how a day of a consumer goes on. So you can take all this to also create concepts, right? Like there are now companies who are looking into product solutions where there's a concept creator for them. They just tell what the pain, where the problem is, or even AI picks it up and then creates concepts that you can still optimize and refine. The question is, where does the real-time consumer feedback come in? And I think that's a very important one, and that's why you see this visual. I almost resemble looking at using only backdated or, let's say, synthetic data by itself is like trying to drive by just looking at your rear view mirror. So that's why you need to be able to look forward as well and steer where you go. And that's where real-time consumer feedback comes into place. Our vision as a company is to create that autopilot innovation system where existing data, your data lakes, CRM data, even social listening, is used for AI to pick up on trends and problems and pains. And then all that signals are used to create a project in tools like, in this case, BoltChatAI, to get real-time consumer feedback, cycle that with consumers, understand how it fits into their lives and where the real problem is, and then take all that insights and feed it into a concept creator where you can understand, where you can get the concept creator to create product ideas and concepts for you, which can then still be cycled back into a real consumer feedback tool to optimize and even validate. So if we can create this model, which already in pieces exists, you have a really much quicker innovation idea phase solution, an autopilot engine, which gives you product ideas to execute. So, especially on research, I think the reason why conversational AI is very important is because if you look at the evolution of research, it started with door-to-door interviews, right? And then there were phone interviews. And then what happened in 2000s is we have started to see these online surveys, which we all use, and it's useful in many ways. But the problem is we lost a lot of the conversation, and online surveys in many ways became a bit of a blind box ticking exercise. And we believe with generative AI, conversational AI, we can actually bring back the conversations and make those consumer engagements much more human. And that's why, because conversation also reveals the real human behavior. I always give this example, like hopefully you don't ask your partners how much do you love me on a scale of 1 to 10, right? But we tend to ask this question on a daily basis to our consumers. I think you can understand their behavior much better clearly when you engage with them in a more real conversational way. There can still be closed-end survey questions, but the real medium should be more conversational. That's why we built BoltChatAI. We trained our AI moderator to actually create discussion guides for you, to conduct in-depth interviews with consumers in a very adaptive way, and then read all through the transcripts, analyze them, and create reports from as well, which you can still continue to interact with and talk to, ask questions about, what do they think? How do I make my campaigns better? So having that platform enables you to talk to consumers in a qualitative, conversational way at scale. And last point, very quickly, many use cases. You can test your concepts, you can test your ads, you can enrich your even quantitative data. You can do it before or after even a traditional call. So it's actually a very complementary way to bring consumer voice into your toolbox at scale in many countries in local language.
Thank you. Now I am going for Unilever case, whatever Hakan already mentioned. I will show you how we did it. So I will split my presentation into 4. I will start with the challenge, and I will go to the approach, and then key learnings that we gather and action points, and I will end my presentation hopefully on time with the simple truth. Let's start with the challenge. So we start our project with a big question that we call, but it is market-making innovation to grow further in refreshment world. And while we are discussing this, let's see how we approach it. It is a big question, as I told you, but we realize that first we need to understand the differences and commonalities of refreshment itself. And since we are working globally, we need to understand both east side and west side of the world. And I think everyone here can relate, but we have time and budget constraints. That makes our job a little bit harder and almost like a mission impossible. But then both teams come up with a solution called BoltChatAI, which will help us to delve into the details about all the different languages and the references of that culture on refreshment in general, but also in ice cream as well. So what we did, we have 10 consumer connects, in-depth consumer connects with the key countries, and each of them led by AI, as Hakan mentioned. And also report itself was also delivered by AI. So normally, as you know, with a traditional methodology, it will take at least 3 weeks, but this way we can able to deliver it within 2 days. Now, I think you can question, What about the learnings then? We finish everything so quick. So maybe learnings may be a little bit less than normal, but it was not. Let's see what critical learnings that we gather and also how we action them. In this picture, you can see all the verbatims coming from consumer about explaining refreshment. And as you can see, it is super wide and it's not functional at all. It is more than a physical vitality. It is sometimes the activities that cools you down, but sometimes it is just taking a deep breath on stressful times. If we go even deeper, it means starting from bottom or even sometimes divorce, but we didn't go that far because we are only ice cream brands, but it is so much wider than we expected at least. And this solution not only helps us to gather this report and say us, this is refreshment means for people, but it also helps us to bring consumer voice into our tables during idea generation session. In Unilever, we always start with innovation processes with consumer understanding. And then we normally do an idea generation session for our MPDs. And this is already one-day work. But this time we have on top of only idea generation with the back data, we have consumer voice in the table while we are crafting our innovation. And normally we have concept creating afterwards, and we are, as a CMI, not owning this concept creating solely. So we are doing it with marketing team and creative agency. But it normally takes a lot of time. So now we have an internal AI tool, as Hakan mentioned. It's almost like an automation, so that we only share the idea that we would like to craft, and AI generate the concept itself. And then once we have these concepts and R&D work a lot afterwards and prepare the product, we normally go to the consumer validation. We are still doing it traditionally since the product testing inside, but we are still investigating how we can reduce the process times. But even with that, we reduce the total time 60% on overall CMI-related work that we spend on an innovation process. And before ending, I would like to end with one simple truth. After all this AI conversation during these 2 days, you may also question, does AI replace one day the humans? At Unilever, we always put human at first, and we always prioritize human reality. AI only helping us to reduce the time on the processes to give us that time back to do more creative work or more strategic work. So it is only complementing humans, not really replacing them. Thank you for listening, and if you have any question, you can reach out to us with this mail address, but you can ask your question now as well.
There are two, I think, let me, so you guys are partnered up. So the AI you use for concept creation is internal or open AI like ChatGPT?
Concept creating part? In Unilever.
The AI that you use for concept creation,
okay.
Is it internal or open AI like ChatGPT?
No, it is internal tool that we are using in Unilever. It's closed AI tool.
Yeah, okay, so that's an easy one. This one I think probably more for you.
Sure.
How do you see the platform evolving in the future in terms of new features and capabilities?
Very good question. We have introduced many things in the last couple of months. It's moving so fast. Like we now have voice responses. People can share, exchange photos, videos. It now does even quantitative type of questions, so we're increasing our question capabilities. We're launching meta-analysis features and also quota management as well. So what we see is, I think the lines between quant and qual will get blurred further. So I even don't want to call it qual at scale anymore, which I think can go across different disciplines and apply different methodologies. We want to eventually create this autopilot innovation vision that we have, connecting with the right partners, right tools, so that it is an almost like automatic consumer feedback tool into your whole innovation process.
Thank you. Okay, another one. Does AI analyze photos, videos, and voice, even live while moderating to probe correctly?
Yes. AI analyzes everything that's shared through photo, video, or even voice, and immediately responds based on that. We actually have a proprietary way to manage the conversations as well. We have AI moderator as well as an AI referee, which is an interesting way, kind of using two different AIs to police on each other, so that it checks for quality, relevance, and any discrepancies in terms of human responses. An AI referee can tell the moderator, this is not a satisfactory answer. Can you elaborate more? Or can you focus on this topic a bit more and then move on to the next? So I think a lot of people have a lot of, concerns around if AI hallucinates. Yes, AI can hallucinate if you give a too broad scope of work. But if you make it focused into a certain thing, it actually does a really pretty good job in sticking to that.
Yeah, thank you. This one's a little provocative, so heads up. It's anonymous, but I think it's a good one to ask, so I'm going to ask it. So, how many human-to-human interactions are you sacrificing in the pursuit of efficiency? Is there a risk if you push this to the extreme?
Yeah, of course, we are not doing everything with AI, of course. We are still touching human to human. But it is more important to understand where you need to have reduced time and where you need to do more human touch. In our case, we use this refreshment part is because we already have a lot of knowledge beforehand, but we need to understand what consumer really inside, what they are talking about refreshment. So that's why it is really, this is just for this project, but we are still we are not sacrificing all the projects for AI, but it is more about the project type or what is the key business question that you have. So in our case, this is more relevant to do with AI.
I actually have a provocative answer to the provocative question.
I love that.
This tool was actually launched as a manual human-to-human connection tool 2 years ago. We had a year long of the tool where brand or insight professionals could log into the platform, pick the target audience, and then in 15 minutes they could be able to speak, chat with actual consumers in their target audience definition. Guess what? Not many people found the time to connect frequently enough with consumers. And the problem is, obviously, we have a lot of work. Efficiency is important. It takes 30 minutes to talk to people and understand what they mean. And I think we need to see AI here as a helper in terms of giving you that efficiency to do that at scale. The tool works in more than 40 countries in local language. You would not be able to talk to as many consumers as quickly. So it does it for you, and it still gives you the ability to analyze and read through your data. And I think, as Irem said, it's all about how do you use the time that you save from some of those operational tasks. If you use it to add creativity into what you do, I think that's what AI is for.
Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you. Now, I'm making an assumption that we have 2 more sessions after this, but as you are sponsoring the happy hour, I'm making the assumption that it's a perfect place for people to find you to ask further questions, correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.